Welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Learning. Bill Taylor here in the Ken's 5 Digital Center on a fantastic Fun Time Friday. This has really been such a wonderful platform for Ken's 5 meteorology, for interaction, for just an all-around great experience. You know, we started this Cloudy with a Chance of Learning all the way back when distance learning started in March. And now we're cruising into a summer school edition, and we're cruising out to a Fun Time Friday at the San Antonio Zoo. Look who's with us. It's Jessica Adam and a very special guest. How are you, Jessica?
Yeah.
And who's that?
I'm doing well, and this is Alan. He is one of our male giraffes, one of the 3 boys that we have here at San Antonio Zoo. He's actually the dad to the other 2 boys that we have here.
Wow, so that's Big Papa. Tell him I said Happy Father's Day.
Yep. I will tell him. I think he's enjoying a Father's Day treat right now. So
what is he eating?
He's eating browse. This one I think is a type of acacia. We offer a variety of browse since these guys are leaf eaters. Normally they'd be browsing on trees all over. So we bring in browse and give them different varieties. They like Chinese elm, they like brachiochiton, anaqua, and then a lot of different acacia types too.
So they are vegetarians?
Yes, they are vegetarians.
Excellent.
So they're only going to eat plant matter. And the reason they're so tall is because they need to reach all the way to the tops of the trees.
See, you're ahead of me and already thinking what I was going to ask, because I always wondered about, you know, were they adapting to something in the evolution of a giraffe? I mean, why the long necks?
Yeah. So because they have such long necks, they can actually reach vegetation that other animals that they live with can't reach. So they have this whole group of food available to them that other animals don't have, because the zebras can't reach that high, the gazelles can't reach that high. The only other ones that might reach that high are like the elephants, but the elephants are going for other things, not the tops of trees.
Exactly. So tell me about the height, like what we're looking at with Alan, because of course you're eye to eye to him right now, but what is his total height?
He is about 18 feet tall. So we are a little bit in the air here at our giraffe feeding deck. It's where guests can come and feed our giraffes. So it's elevated to be eye to eye with the giraffes and get a different perspective on them. And so he is quite tall still, and like I said, 18 feet tall. You can see it goes down quite a ways.
Now, is Alan's 18 feet of height average for a giraffe his age, and how old is he?
So for reticulated giraffes, they're going to max out around 18 feet. He is fully grown. He is about 11 years old. Sometimes animals age and I forget that time has passed. So sometimes when I learn their age, I forget that I learned that age about 2 years ago. But I believe he's around 11 years old. And then his 2 sons, you might be able to see Braden in the background there.
Oh, sure.
They are 7 and 8, I believe.
And what is the life expectancy of a giraffe like Alan? And you mentioned what type he is. What was that again?
They are called reticulated giraffes. So there's about 9 different subspecies of giraffes. There's reticulated, and then there's the Maasai giraffe, and then I'm not sure about the other subspecies because I haven't actually worked with them, so I don't know a lot about all the subspecies. And then, what was the other part of your question?
The life expectancy. You mentioned Alan's 11.
Yeah, so the life expectancy for giraffes, they can reach into their early 30s. Male giraffes tend to live a little bit less than that. They'll be mid-20s in zoos. In the wild, it'll be a lot shorter because they have disease and predation that you have to deal with, and poaching. These giraffes are actually going through what we're calling a silent extinction. People don't realize that their numbers have been drastically dropping in the past decade or so.
Is that right? I had no idea either. Look, we've got more guests joining us. Everybody wants a little stardom, right? Now, do they have
now
agents?
that the rain has let up a little bit.
if they have an agent or anybody representing that we've got to get paperwork done, look at this. This is
I
awesome.
believe you have to go talk to Mr. Morrow about that.
And Jessica, you know, meteorologist Andrew Wilson, I'm just off screen here. I gotta know, why do they have horns? It looks like they may have horns on their head.
Yeah, so giraffes have what's called ossicones. It's a bony protrusion that's part of their skull. And they use those, the males will use those to spar for females. In giraffes, both males and females have those ossicones. And then the only other species that have ossicones are okapis, but only the male okapis have those, and females will not have the ossicones.
Now, how often are they eating in a day? Like, I mean, is it 3 squares? Do they eat every couple of hours?
They pretty much browse throughout their day. They are kind of like a weird exotic cow. They're going to browse and eat throughout the day because vegetation doesn't have a lot of nutrition in it. They're just going to eat constantly, and then they have that 4-chambered stomach that's going to be processing that food all day. So we do the feedings at the deck throughout the day, but then they also have their free-fed alfalfa, which is a type of hay that we feed these guys. And then they get browsed throughout the day. And then they also get a pelleted chow it's called giraffe chow, but it's formulated specifically for giraffes' nutritional needs. So it has all the vitamins and nutrients that maybe the plant life we're growing here in the soil in the U.S. doesn't have, that African soil would be providing for their vegetation.
Boy, I really love this close-up view of Alan right
Yeah.
there in the front, of course. And what are the other 2 names?
So we have Alan, Cosmo, and then Braden. I can't figure out this camera. There we go. Braden is over here.
And I knew we were a little
Everything's
concerned with
opposite.
the weather that they might not come out because it was raining a little bit earlier, but obviously they're comfortable with how things are out there right now.
Yeah, it just cleared up and dried up, so they're willing to come out of the barn for some snacks. But if it starts to drizzle again, they're probably going to be like, nope, we're good. We're going to go back to our shelter.
And Jessica, I've heard that they have purple tongues. Is that true?
That is true. Let's see if, I don't know if Alan's going to demonstrate it. Here, let's get some browse for him. All right.
I have a purple tongue after a good raspa.
Well, now he's chewing too much. But yeah, they do have a purple tongue. So it's going to be the end of their tongue that usually comes out of their mouth. And that's to help keep them from getting a sunburn. Because their tongue spends more time out of their mouth than in their mouth when they're browsing. And so that African sun could sunburn their skin. I mean, your tongue is just skin like everything else. So to keep from getting a sunburn, their tongue has extra melanin in it, which makes it appear purple.
We just got a good tongue demonstration. Alan's showing off a little bit.
What's really cool, too, about giraffes is that their tongue is proportional to their height. So I said Alan was 18 feet tall. His tongue is 18 inches long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where are these giraffes from? I mean, what area of the world are they indigenous to?
They're from Africa. The specific part of Africa I am drawing a blank on at the moment, but it's kind of Central Africa, but they will migrate around. Oops, let's see if there we go. Getting used to doing a selfie. I don't do these often.
No, it's awesome. I really appreciate you, which, by the way, if you're just joining us, we are live at the San Antonio Zoo. It's cloudy with a chance of learning. We're joined by Jessica Adam, a senior animal care specialist at the San Antonio Zoo, or what we call a SACS. And you've been there now, you mentioned 12 years. So you were there before the giraffe exhibit ever opened, right?
Yeah, I was when we had the old Savannah exhibit, but I did not work that. I was actually in the bird department when the other giraffes were here before this all got reimagined and renovated. So I worked in the bird department for about 5 years, and then the rest of the time I've been in one of our mammal departments.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, how many giraffes, again, total? I know we're seeing 3.
Yeah, we have a total of 3. It's 3 males.
Oh, got all 3 out. Okay.
Yeah, we got all three here. Uh, they are basically ambassadors for their species. So their purpose now is to just make connections with the public and win hearts for wildlife. Because their genetics are really well represented in the zoo world. We don't need these three males for breeding. So they're being ambassadors and making those connections with young children and families.
Nice. And Jessica, they have this beautiful pattern on them. What gives
Yeah.
them? Is there a reason why they have that pattern?
Well, that's where they get their name, reticulated. It means something about like I think reticulated means it looks like a net's been thrown over it or something like that is what that means. And so you can see on the pattern on the body here, that it does kind of look like somebody threw a beige colored net over an orange animal. And that patterning helps them blend in, believe it or not, into the shadows under trees. And then other giraffe species will have different, like the other subspecies that I was talking about, have slightly different patterning on them.
So I'm looking
pretty,
at some Facebook comments, and from Krista Lopez, she says, I miss these guys. She has been taking very great care on these fellas. I miss working there. I think an old colleague of yours is watching.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Very cool.
And I've noticed.
Yeah, a lot of these.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Pardon? I was just going to say, these are definitely a favorite of the staff and of the guests. So.
Yeah, they seem to have such a gentle demeanor. I mean, for such a large animal, they seem so reserved and like I said, pretty quiet and easy to get along with.
Yeah, they can be. They can be a little mischievous, and they don't take their gentle demeanor to mean that if they were threatened, they couldn't defend themselves. These guys have some excellent defenses, being that they can't hide like other animals can. If a pride of lions were to come by, they probably won't go after a giraffe or a herd of giraffes because a giraffe has a really good ability to kick. They can actually kick in every direction, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. They can kick forward, backwards, and to the sides. Wow. And they have that 6 foot long leg. Like their legs are literally 6 foot tall. So, but yeah, working with them, they do have quite the personalities. It's really fun to work with them. But we never go in with them because they have those defenses that we talked about.
And what's the average weight of this certain species of giraffe?
Average weight. Last time we weighed Cosmo here, he was, hold on, I gotta convert it into my pounds. He was just shy of 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
2,000 pounds? 3,000 pounds? 2,000 pounds, I believe.
Oh, Krista is telling me that she used to work in the catering department. She'd set up for giraffes breakfasts.
Oh, okay. Oh, yep. Those are really popular. I think we're starting to open those back up in a limited capacity, so people can definitely check out our website and see how to sign up and do breakfast with the giraffes.
Oh, that's
obviously
very cool.
We're taking the precautions, but sure. That is something that's on the plate to reopen here soon.
Nice. And Jessica, we've noticed some other animals that are kind of hanging out with the giraffes. What kind of other animals do y'all have in the enclosure with the giraffes?
Oh yeah, so this is one of our mixed species enclosures, and it has a lot of variety in here. So I don't know how well you guys can see. In the barn currently are two zebras. That is Notch and Shadow. They're two mountain zebras that we have. And then, I don't know if you can tell, over here, there is an ostrich. So we have two ostriches. And then, if we come over here and look down, you can see, where's my finger? There we go. We have a marabou stork. His name is Pouchy. He's also another staff favorite amongst the keepers. He is really cool. He is a marabou stork. He's trying to dry off from the rain that just went through not too long ago. And then we also have 11 guinea fowl in here, purple crested guinea fowl. And then we also have two white storks and a crown crane.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's quite a melting pot.
Yes, it is. They're all African species. They all get along. Anytime you do a mixed species, you have to make sure that all the personalities of the animals meld really well so that they can all live together. We don't want anybody harassing anybody else.
One of our Facebook fans is Matthew, and he wants to know, do giraffes use their necks as weapons? I guess you mentioned sometimes they'll use those horns, but you know, in a sense, do they ever use their necks to do anything like that?
So they'll use their necks and their ossicones to spar for mates with each other. So like if males were competing to have rights to a group of females, they'll do what's called necking. It's a lot different than what humans call, where they'll swing their heads at each other and hit each other with those ossicones. And they hit each other very hard, and it can get quite violent when females are at stake. They get quite violent. Sometimes our boys here will practice and spar with each other, but they don't to the intensity that having hormones at a high level would have. But they won't use their neck. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're not going to use their neck and their to swing at predators, because if you think about it, they'd be taking their head from 18 feet up and then putting it at a really low and vulnerable position. So if they were threatened by a predator, they're going to use their feet and kick at it and keep that head, which is the most important part to keep protected, way up as far away from those predators as they possibly can.
What would be a predator to a giraffe? I guess in the wild it would be tigers and lions, right?
Yeah, it'd be your pride of lions, a group of hyenas, maybe. They're not really going to go, those predators aren't really going to go after giraffes if it's like a fully grown, healthy giraffe. But if there's a calf with a female, they might go after that. If it's a sick or injured giraffe, they'll go after those. And that's part of keeping the giraffe herds healthy, because if you have a sick giraffe, that could spread that disease to the rest of the herd, because they don't have medical care in the wild. So if a predator comes through and takes that sick giraffe out of the population, it actually keeps the rest of the giraffe population healthy.
2 questions from our Facebook fans. Marcos wants to know about all the buzzards, and then Cynthia, do the giraffes use their legs to kick?
So Cynthia, yes, the giraffes do use their legs to kick as a defensive strategy. They'll kick at anything that they feel is threatening them, which is why we as the animal care specialists never go in with the giraffes. Not that they would feel threatened by us, but you never know what might spook them. And we're so short and they're so tall that we could startle them. So we never go in with them because of their ability to kick. As for the vultures that we have, so the black vultures that a lot of people I'm sure have seen at the zoo if you visited, those are all native migratory species to the United States and to Texas. And they have found a really good place that has low predators and great food available. So they come and they hang out. They steal some of our food from our animals if they can. We've changed a lot of the ways that we feed a lot of our meat-eating animals to prevent the vultures from getting too much of their food. And then they come and hang out in the savannah and sun themselves all day. And they hang out. It's really sunny, so they'll sun themselves. And the reason that vultures sun themselves is actually to kill all the bacteria from all the gross things they eat all day to keep their wings nice and clean.
Matthew's asking if giraffes make any weird or funny noises.
They're pretty silent. I've never really heard them make any noises. They don't vocalize like a lot of other animals do, or like you think of animals doing. We did read up recently about a study on giraffes, and they find that one study showed that at night, giraffes tend to hum to each other. I've never heard it because I've never been here in the middle of the night when it's all dark. But yeah, apparently they've done like audio recordings of groups of giraffes at different places, and they hear that they hum at night. But other than that, I've never really heard much of a vocalization, except for when they're chewing their cud.
Joanne's asking about, or actually informing us that they have the same number of neck bones as a human. Is that true?
Yes, yes, they do. They do have the same number of neck bones. They're just supersized. So our vertebrae obviously are pretty small. A neck bone, one vertebrae for a giraffe is going to be about a foot, foot and a half long. So.
And how about like communication between themselves and with human beings? I mean, are they smart animals?
They're as smart as they need to be, but you don't have to be super intelligent to reach leaves in a tree. They do have a capability to learn. We do what's called husbandry training with these guys. So we ask them to do different things that helps participate in their own health care. So coming up to us, letting us touch their neck and their head so that we can provide health care in case they get a scratch or a scrape, or we need to look at something up close because it's really hard to see it from afar. So those are kind of things that they can learn and participate in, but they're not going to be as intelligent as, say, a primate or a crow or something like that. So.
How about their sleep habits? And do they sleep standing up? And for how long do they sleep?
They do sleep standing up, but they'll take like small 8 to 10 minute naps while standing. And that's pretty typical for them. Sometimes in zoos, you'll see giraffes laying down a little bit more than you would ever see in the wild. And that's because they know they're safe. And so they know they don't have to fear any predators. So they're more comfortable with laying down on the ground. Whereas if they're out in the wild, those giraffes know that a predator could come by at any time. And it may be it's going to take a long time to get an 18-foot frame from laying on the ground to standing and getting away. So they stay standing for the most part once they reach adulthood in the wild and just take short cat naps or giraffe naps.
Giraffe naps. And what about people interacting with a giraffe? Can you pet the giraffe? Would it be comfortable with you doing that?
No. So it takes a while to build up a relationship with the giraffe to make them comfortable with even us as their animal care specialists touching them. So whenever somebody comes and does the feeding, we ask that you don't touch the giraffes, because if you think about it, imagine if everyone you saw today touched your face. Like, that would be very uncomfortable. At least for me, that would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, me too.
So they're not used to anything touching their faces because they're 18 feet tall as well. So we ask that you just only feed them holding the lettuce and don't touch them because they will move away from the deck and then leave, and then everyone else doesn't get to feed them. But it's only when we're doing the husbandry training and after we've built those relationships with the animals before we'll start doing touching them at any point. And only a couple of us can touch certain giraffes at this point because we're still building those relationships and that trust with them.
Lucinda wants to know, how do they communicate with each other? And Cynthia's asking if a giraffe's ever tried to bite someone.
So they communicate with each other through body language and just, body language basically. With the three boys, because you do have typical like brother and father-son interactions, it's more like, I want that food, I'm going to push you out of my way, and I'm going to get that food. But they do like rub on each other, they do lick each other a little bit. So you do see a little bit of bonding between them, but a lot of it has to do with body language. And maybe they do communicate at some frequency that we just can't pick up. We're always learning more about the animals in our care. That's one of the great things about taking care of them, is we're always learning new things to improve their care. So we're always trying to get better at what we're doing so we can provide them with the best available. And then what was the second question?
If a giraffe has ever tried to bite anyone.
Oh, ever tried to bite? No, they're not going to really try to bite anybody. Mostly if they're upset with someone, they're going to swing. Well, if they're up here at the feeding deck and they're upset with something, they're going to swing their head. So that's why if anybody that's been doing the giraffe experience, the giraffe feeding experience, or is thinking about coming, whenever we do take pictures, or if somebody wants to have a picture taken with the giraffe in the background, we ask them to step a certain distance away from the railing so that the giraffes can't move their head back and forth and possibly swing at somebody. It's all for everybody's safety and the giraffe's comfort.
So now you mentioned Alan at about 18 feet tall. I was wondering about the height at birth and how long is gestation for a giraffe?
Their height at birth for a giraffe is, if I remember correctly, it's going to be between like 5 to 6 feet tall. So it's quite a tall baby once they get standing. And they're going to stand within an hour probably of being born. And then their gestation, if I remember correctly, is about I think it's between 14 to 16 months. So it's pretty
close.
long gestation, but they got a pretty big baby to grow. So
Teresa's asking about the stomachs, if they're similar to two stomachs like a cow. You mentioned 4 chambers earlier, I think?
yeah. So they have like a 4-chambered stomach like a cow does. So they're just this really weird tall cow, if you want to simplify it into the simplest terms possible. But they have that 4-chambered stomach, so they're going to be doing a lot of chewing of their cud, and re-chewing and chewing and chewing, a lot of chewing.
What is and finally, Jessica, I know we're going to wrap things up here. What is your favorite thing about a giraffe? What do you love the most about these animals?
What do I love the most about the giraffes? I mean, they're such a unique animal. Like there's not really any other animal that's quite like them and presents like the same challenges as far as like taking care of them. We make enrichments for them. Enrichment is anything new or different we can add to their environment to give them a new experience that day. And so coming up with enrichments that help, that gives them something to solve and use all of their capabilities with, a lot of puzzle feeders and stuff that use that very long tongue. That's really fun to me, like coming up with something unique for them to interact with in a way that's natural for them is one of my favorite things about the giraffes.
That's so awesome. Well, Jessica Adams, Senior Animal Care Specialist at our awesome San Antonio Zoo, thank you so much for your time today and all of this great knowledge about giraffes. I've never known as much as I now know about this beautiful animal. I mean, they are so majestic and gorgeous, and I love when they're running. Like, oh, they're just beautiful.
They always look like they're running in slow motion.
Yeah, I know it, exactly. And while I have you, give us a rundown of how the San Antonio Zoo's operating right now. Are you guys still providing drive-through experiences?
No, so we've currently opened up to pedestrians. We strongly recommend wearing a face covering and a mask. You are required to wear a mask if you're going to do any of the animal interactions. So if you want to come feed the giraffes, or if you want to go in with the kangaroos, for the safety of the staff and the animals, we ask that you all have to wear masks. We have sanitation stations everywhere for people as well. But yeah, we're opened up to people walking through right now. So you can buy your tickets online. I think you can buy your tickets at the ticket booth as well. And then there's also the Beastly breakfasts are starting to open up as well. So go on our website. You can get all the up-to-date information. Find out what we recommend for if you're going to come to the zoo, and see what all is open and available to do.
Yeah, visit them right here on Facebook or that website. Is it sazoo.org?
.org, sazoo.org.
Excellent.
And we also, if you can't for some reason or don't want to come out to the zoo, we also offer virtual behind-the-scenes tours. So you can go on that sazoo.org and click on virtual tours, and you can come and visit the zoo virtually and we can do a behind the scenes tour somewhere over online.
That's a great experience too. Jessica,
Yeah.
you are wonderful. Thank you for answering all our questions so
Yeah.
graciously,
No.
and may the force be with you.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, you as well.
That was absolutely awesome. Jessica Adam, a senior animal care specialist, our awesome San Antonio Zoo. Did you know that the San Antonio Zoo was one of the first cage-free exhibits in the United States? It's very true. It's an incredible zoo if you haven't been out there at the San Antonio Zoo, right near downtown, near Brackenridge Park, and it's a great area. Wonderful spot. Well, I want to do a little bit of weather before letting you go on our Fun Time Friday. Air quality, a bit of a concern today. So we've got a little bit of Sahara dust showing up in the air, but especially along the Texas coast. So despite the rain, we've seen some air quality compromised from southwest Louisiana right into the Texas Bend. In fact, you can take a look right here. This is a live air quality monitor, and look from about Lake Charles and Beaumont, both in an unhealthy for sensitive groups, unhealthy air quality, not for sensitive, unhealthy period for everyone when you see the red oval. And then you can see the yellow oval for San Antonio, Austin, and I guess that's going to be Waco, a little bit farther north on I-35. That's a moderate read, while we're surrounded, especially Austin, by a lot of good reading. Corpus Christi also in an unhealthy air quality report currently. Now, we did have a pretty active radar a bit earlier today. As a matter of fact, we had what were called tropical funnels showing up down along the Texas coast and inland around Beeville. Up to about 3 tropical funnels were spotted, and we had tornado warnings in Beeville, in Live Oak County as well. And you can now see some more heavy pockets of rain developing from Corpus Christi west through Jim Wells, and all staying so far south of Tilden and Beeville, but it looks as though they're going to trend north over the next few hours. So San Antonio right now, a little bit of a break. You can see a wave of showers move through earlier. Now we're getting some pretty good rain into areas of downtown. In fact, not far from the zoo, as a matter of fact. And it's very light. You know, in this kind of an environment, we won't see anything severe. Those tropical funnels are typically an occurrence along the coastal bends. It's not going to be anything that makes it all the way up to San Antonio typically. But you can see that we've got some pretty good rain falling now near Alice, and some spots. Let me get a couple of hours only. This is about a 6-hour loop, and I'd like to shorten that real quick. And now you can see what I'm talking about. Coming right up 281 north as well as 37. This is going to be some good heavy rainfall. What we want to see is that this makes it up to San Antonio and the Hill Country. The Edwards Aquifer continues to drop, and we are less than 2 feet away from seeing stage 1 water restrictions. Let me show you today's reading. Yesterday we were at 661 even on the daily count, and today we dropped another few, well, not a foot, but 660.4, so about half a foot. And you can see the 10-day average. That's the important number right now, 661.4. It's when that number hits 660 even that SAWS, as well as the Edwards Aquifer Authority, will consider stage 1 water restrictions. Now, that's only if we hit 660 and there's like 0 chance of rain in the forecast, and we're in a dry pattern, which after today, it's going to start being the case. We might see a couple of pop-up showers over the weekend, but we're not expecting rain chances to be better than what we're getting today. Rain coverage will definitely go down. High pressure expected to be a good leverage point for next week's weather pattern. So that's going to mean a dry forecast moving forward, and that's going to definitely mean stage 1 restrictions by next week. I mean, keep in mind, all of last summer, we did not even go into stage 1. So we're kind of overdue in a small sense, right? 660 means we're only watering once a week with irrigation systems. You can hose water every day, but when we go to stage 1, you can only use sprinklers or irrigation systems once a week, and it's based on your address. All right, that's going to wrap up our Fun Time Friday. Make sure to join us on Eyewitness News First at 4. Hope you enjoyed our San Antonio Zoo visit. Go make sure to check them out when you can, and we'll see you on Ken's 5. Have a wonderful weekend.